Day 15. The cold didn't leave, it just went down. On the night of day 14, the ice felt like it was in the air. On day 15, it felt like it had drained into the walls, the floor, our bones. I woke with the sensation that someone had spent the whole night whispering inside my head. Not words, beats. Slow, deep, like the world was being hammered from the inside. Thum. Thum. The woman was asleep against the garage wall, her husband's notebook open on her chest, pen still trapped between her fingers. She'd written until she passed out. The speaker was bundled in a thin blanket, shaking from cold and memory. Even asleep, his lips moved, like he was still repeating commands, afraid to forget the thing that kept him alive. It took a few seconds to realize the beats I was feeling were real, not in my head, in the floor. I stood up slowly, every joint complaining. Put my hand against the concrete wall of the garage. The cold was coming from inside it, not outside. It pulsed in waves, like something was hitting from below. Thum. Thum. You hear it too? The woman's voice came, low, behind me. I turned. She was already awake, eyes hollow, face pale. It's not echo, I said. It's not, she agreed. It's a call. She pointed at the ground. The caller isn't just out there. I swallowed. You think he's under us? I think this neighborhood doesn't end at the ground, she said. It just keeps going where we can't see. The speaker opened his eyes slowly, like waking from a nightmare that hadn't ended. You're listening to the basement, he muttered. What basement? I asked. The one that's always been here. He drew a breath. You just used to call it something else. Bunker, I guessed. He shook his head. Research. The woman tightened her grip on the notebook. The cell, she whispered. What cell? She turned the notebook to a page I hadn't read yet. In her husband's handwriting. Day 15. Main access, underground cell. They started down here, before everything. The cold I felt wasn't just weather anymore. It was the cold you feel when you realize the world didn't break on its own. Someone helped. Observation number 31. The end of the world never starts the day everything falls. It starts in basements no one looks at. We left the garage while the sky was still more dark than light. The cold sliced the air in invisible blades, but the city was strangely still. A few distant moans. No double low. It felt like the world was holding its breath. On the map, the access to the underground cell sat behind an old building near a school. Service gate, the note said. Staff entrance. We walked in silence, listening for every sound. The cold ones, those blue, fast creatures from the previous night, weren't on the roofs anymore, at least not where we could see them. But I could feel white eyes tracking each step. The school appeared quickly. High wall, open court, rusted goalposts, a torn banner still reading "Back to School." Behind it, the service building. Metal door, padlock hanging open. The woman frowned. He wrote it was locked. Could have been forced later. Or opened from the inside, she added. I pushed the door. The smell came first. Mold, rust, old chemicals, and something sweeter, sickening. A smell you don't get on the street. A stored smell. A hidden one. We went down a dark ramp, light dying with every step. The speaker limped behind us, leaning on me, each stair a negotiation. At the bottom, another door. Thick metal, small barred window. On the wall, scratched with something sharp,
"Don't open. If you open, it won't close again." The woman ran her fingers over the words. "He saw this," she whispered. "He read it. And still—" "He went in," I finished. I swallowed. "We're not better than he was." She breathed in, held it, and nodded. "But maybe we're more warned."
The handle looked like it had been designed to survive a war. I pulled, pushed, jammed the iron pipe into the latch. The door gave just a little with a heavy crack. Colder air bled from underneath, carrying a thick, metallic, sweet smell, the kind your stomach reacts to before your brain labels it. "There's old blood in there," the woman said. "There's more than that," the speaker whispered. I shoved harder. The door opened enough for us to slip through sideways. We stepped in. Light was almost non-existent. A thin slash of gray from some high crack in the ceiling. We flicked a small flashlight on for a few seconds, just to map the room. It was enough. Hooks lined the walls, chains, metal rings. In the middle, 4 metal structures like upright cages, too wide for animals, too tight for anything human to be comfortable. Some were open, some closed. On the floor, marks, dragging, falling, fighting. "This is," the woman whispered, "a cell." "Not one cell," I said, "a cluster." The speaker stayed at the door, frozen. "I know this place," he muttered. "You've been here?" He nodded, shaking. "Before they took me upstairs." The woman turned her face away, nauseated. "They start down here. They tie you," the speaker said, "leave you in the dark." His voice shrank. "First they take your voice, then they give voice back like it's theirs." I understood. This was where they dismantled people and built echoes. Rule number 31. If a place was built to take something away from someone, never go in thinking you'll come out whole. The writing on the wall. Further in, we found something different. A whole wall covered in paper. Not neatly pinned, impaled with nails, scraps of tape, torn strips. A mural of panic. We moved closer. Some slips had names, others had numbers. Others had short phrases, scribbled like someone was writing on the edge of a mental collapse. I read a few. "He made my voice come out of his throat. If I stop repeating, they send the moans. Their sound gets in my chest and pushes mine out. I'm not the only voice in here anymore." The woman traced a shredded piece of paper with her finger. "That's a woman's handwriting. And this one," I pointed to another, "looks like the same person. On the second sheet, in the same trembling hand. If anyone finds this, they're not studying the infected. They're studying what fear does to obedience." The silence after that sentence was heavier than any chain in the room. Her husband had written about patterns. She'd seen manipulation. I'd felt control. But that line named the sin. They didn't want to understand the dead. They wanted to understand what turned the living into tools. Lower down, another note, letters nearly gone. The caller wasn't born infected. He was chosen. The woman read it aloud, voice thin. "Chosen by who?" I asked. The speaker answered from the doorway, his words echoing weakly. "By the ones who left before everything fell." I turned. "Left?" "The ones who started the project," he said. "Never stayed to see what it became." Something hot and bitter twisted in my chest. Not anger at monsters, at people. At the living who ran while the rest of the world drowned in their experiment. Numbers were carved above each metal cage. 1, 2, 3, 4. All empty. Except number 3. Its door was half open, blocked by something on the floor. I nudged it with my foot, Something slid. What was left of a body. Not a whole one. Just spine, bits of leg, strips of fabric trapped between bones. But the posture, the angle, was human. The skull was gone. The woman turned away, fighting the urge to vomit. Even so, I saw it. Along the wall inside the cell, grooves scratched with something hard. Short strokes, counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Groups of 5. Hundreds. By the door, a sentence. I am not an echo. I swallowed. What's that supposed to mean? The speaker edged closer for the first time, like approaching a forbidden altar. Echo, he said, is the ones who only repeat. He ran his hand along the wall. Some here kept their own voice, even after everything. He nodded toward the phrase. This was one of them. What happened to him? The woman asked. Before the speaker could answer, we heard it. Not from upstairs, not outside, from inside the concrete. A deep, rough sound, short, like a groan forced through too many walls. Not the double low, almost. An announcement. The speaker shut his eyes. He answered. Who? He pointed at the cell floor, now trembling. The echo that isn't echo. Observation number 32. If you try to break someone until they only repeat your voice, you risk creating something that speaks with its own. In the back of cell 3, under a crust of filth, we found something her husband hadn't mapped. A round iron hatch, manhole-sized, smooth, no logo, no handle, just a circle and a ring of fingernail marks around it, as if someone had tried to clog a way out or in. It wasn't on the map, the woman said, voice tight. Maybe he didn't see it, I answered, or saw it too late. The speaker started crying. He opened it. Who? The first caller. I stared at him. This is where he went down, the speaker whispered. And when he came back, he wasn't the same. The floor shuddered again. Not like an earthquake, like something heavy moving a little, far below. Thoom. Thoom. If we leave now, we still have time, the woman said, voice shaking. Time for what? To keep on living without knowing what's under there. She took a breath that almost broke. Maybe that's the best we get. I wanted to agree, but her notebook in her hand felt like it was staring at me. When the cold comes, they change. They don't move on their own. The caller was chosen. All the lines pointed the same way. If we keep running without understanding, we only die slower. I stayed silent for a few seconds. Then I said what no sane survivor says. I want to know. She looked at me, eyes wet. And if whatever is down there is exactly what kills us, I thought, then answered, then at least we'll know the monster's name. Rule 32. At some point in survival, you'll choose between living without knowing or dying understanding. Neither option is good.
No handle, no key, no visible lock. The hatch had been made so no one above could open it. Whoever built it underestimated desperation. Desperation always finds leverage. We searched the cell, found a thick, rusted rebar. I jammed the tip into the tiny gap between iron and concrete. We forced it together, me and the woman, while the speaker repeated, crying, "Don't open, don't open, don't open." The metal screamed. The floor vibrated. Our hands burned. Then, with one harsh crack, crack, the hatch shifted half a centimeter. Enough. We dragged it aside, revealing a black hole like an open grave. Warm air rose from below. warm. In a world frozen solid, heat came crawling up, thick, humid, smelling of iron, mold, and something I can only call voice. The stench of burned words. The woman stepped back. "This is wrong." "Everything is wrong," I said. "But this is the original wrong." The speaker curled up in the corner, hands over his ears. "He's awake." "Who?" "The one who learned to call." I swallowed. The woman looked at me like she was apologizing and asking forgiveness at once. "If we go down, there's no coming back," I finished. "If we don't go down, he comes up." With that sentence, day 15 lost any chance of being a normal survival day. We went down. A narrow metal ladder clung to the wall, dropping into a corridor so dark the flashlight seemed ashamed to turn on. Every rung echoed. Every echo felt like an offense to the place. The deeper we went, the warmer it got, like we were moving opposite to the rest of the world. At the bottom, the floor was damp concrete. A hallway stretched out. And the sound we heard there wasn't monsters. It was machines.
Old fans spinning lazily. A faint electrical hum. Something was still feeding this place. The only light came from emergency bulbs, flickering here and there, painting sick yellow patches on the concrete. Enough to see. Metal doors in a row. Small barred windows. Inside them, shapes. Some human, others not. "This can't still be active," the woman whispered. "It can," the speaker said from above, still on the ladder, too afraid to come all the way down. "They set it all up before they left." We walked the corridor slowly. First door, empty room, gurney, loose chains. Second, a metal chair and something like a helmet packed with wires. Third, I couldn't look for long. Something lay there. Couldn't say if human or infected, but it breathed. Long, slow. Each exhale carried a deep note, a near double low, like training for something not finished yet. The woman squeezed my arm. "Don't stop." "I'm not opening it," I said. "Don't even keep looking." At the fourth door, we found what we were meant to see. Not by choice, by curse. On the rusted plate, it read 0. Not C1 or C2, 0. Origin, the first one. Through the barred window, we could see almost nothing, just a slice of wall, stained floor, chain fragments leading toward a central point we couldn't see. On the ground, drawn in something dark, a circle repeated over and over, like someone had been forced to trace it until their hand bled. The woman pressed her face to the bars. "There's nobody in there." "Not now," I said. The silence inside was wrong, not absence. Pause. Pause of something listening. She opened the notebook. On the last page, her husband had written about this place, one rushed line. He understood before everyone else. The voice they wanted to teach was already there. She read it under her breath, swallowed hard, and added, "He didn't learn to call. He remembered." That sentence cut deep. As if the caller wasn't just a lab result, but something older, and the researchers had just poked it and woke it up. Observation number 33. When you poke what was asleep long before you were born, you're not creating anything new. You're just reminding the world of an old nightmare. Next to C0, a small metal box. Inside, a tape. Old school. On the label, handwritten, Session 0, background voice. My fingers went cold even in that humid heat. The woman watched me. "You're not going to—" "I am," I said. "If someone thought this was worth recording, we need to know why." We found a portable tape player on a nearby table. Miraculously, it still worked. I slid the tape in. Static. Then clear human voices. Testing low-frequency response. Subject 0, sedated. Vitals stable. A man's voice. Professional, clinical. Then a woman's. Applying stimulus below 30 Hz. Monitoring. Silence. More static. Then a sound. Very deep. Barely audible, but you could feel it. Low. Not yet a double low. Like a distant quake forced into a narrow line of audio. The human voices came back, less calm now. "Did you hear that? That wasn't us. Check the equipment." Pause. Heavier static. Another deep sound, clearer this time. And then something that wasn't pure sound anymore. Half sound, half shape. Like a voice trying to be born inside the low frequency. A third voice, very close to the mic, whispered. He responded before the stimulus. He knew. The woman shut the tape off, hand shaking. "Enough. We have to hear the rest," I said. "We don't," she answered, firm. "We already understood enough." She breathed, then put it into words. "They thought they were teaching." Her eyes filled with dry tears. But they were just calling. The floor shook harder. Thoom. Thoom. Not because of the tape, not because of us, because of him. Up above, the speaker screamed, "He knows you're there!" His voice shot down the shaft, spread through the corridor. I almost yelled, "Shut up," but it was too late. From inside C0 came a sound I will never forget. Not a scream, not a moan, not speech. It was like every voice that had ever passed through that room had been crushed into one exhale. A wave of hot air burst through the bars and hit my face. In a flash, I remembered every time someone had whispered my name in my life. All of them, layered. It wasn't my name he was saying, but it was something very close to, "I see you." The woman stumbled back, notebook almost slipping from her hand. "That's not just someone." "No," I said. "It's a choir." Inside the cell, something dragged itself across the floor. We didn't see the body, only the shadow, warped, wrong, as if the thing casting it didn't fit the human blueprint anymore. Chains rattled, not like they were holding something down, like they were being dragged along. The woman snapped the notebook shut and met my eyes. "We can't let that out." "I never planned to," I said. She clenched her jaw. "Then why did we come down?" I stayed quiet for a moment. The answer wasn't pretty. To know what we're trying to keep in. Observation number 34. Sometimes the best victory you get is to not make the world worse than it already is. We didn't go into C0, didn't break chains, didn't open doors. Whatever was inside stayed inside, for now. But we didn't climb out empty-handed. We took the tape. We took a few printed reports from a nearby desk, too technical to parse on the spot, but one line was clearly underlined. Subject shows anticipatory response to stimuli not yet delivered. We took one more thing, understanding. The red vests, the echoes, the speakers, the cold ones, the corridor, the clicks. All of that, tools. Tools of a system born down here. And somehow, the caller had claimed that system for himself. When we climbed and dragged the hatch closed again, the speaker was crying. Not from fear, from recognition. He swallowed, choking on memory. I stayed in that hallway, he pointed downward, for 3 days.
He shut his eyes. Before I learned to obey. The woman went to him. You remember? I only remember the sound, he said. His fingers brushed the old muffle marks on his neck. But I never forgot the smell. What smell? I asked. He looked at me with a grief that no one recovers from. The smell of people who stopped being people.
Back on the surface, the cold almost felt normal. After that damp heat underground, the frost above was familiar. We holed up in a half-collapsed building, overlooking a part of the neighborhood we hadn't seen yet. Far away, infected staggered in crooked lines. Red vests moved like dead lanterns. No double low for now. The city felt like it was on pause, not out of mercy, out of recalculation. At night, I wrote in the notebook, Day 15. They weren't born monsters. Not the dead, not the living. They were made. Below ground, in rooms with weak lights and cold walls. They called something that was already there, sleeping, and gave it body, tools, and method. The caller isn't an accident. He's a result. I shut the notebook. The woman lay in the corner, clutching the tape like evidence in a trial that will never happen. The speaker slept restlessly. Sometimes his lips moved. But that night, for the first time since we found him, he didn't click his tongue. Not once. Maybe, for a few hours, he'd managed to silence the voice they left inside him. It hurt to notice, because it dragged up a thought I didn't want. If even the victims carry the caller inside them, then at some level, all of us are potential echoes. I forced my breathing to slow. Outside, the wind sighed. And far away, nearly swallowed by distance, a sound appeared. Not double low, not click, not whistle. A mix of all three. Like whatever was down there had heard our visit and was practicing a new language. The language of something that doesn't forget. I closed my eyes. Day 16, I whispered, is going to be inside us.